announcing a change that I think is important for NASA. And that is, this is a response to the science community, who has for a long time decided that we needed to do science on the surface of the moon, and yet NASA for a long time has focused the moon within the Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate and not the Science Mission Directorate. But now we're changing that. We believe there is a lot of amazing science that we can do on the surface of the moon. In fact, science that we can't do anywhere other than the surface of the moon. We want multiple providers that are competing on cost and innovation so that we as NASA can do more than we've ever been able to do before and advance the human spirit.
Science and human exploration go together. And we should not be surprised that I'm standing here as a scientist, really excited about exploring this celestial body right next door to us. The moon, like any other body in the solar system. The moon is full of secrets that we don't know yet. For example, if you really want to decide what the age is of the solar system, just like you look at the rings of a tree when you cut it, if you want to learn that, you go to the moon and you analyze the samples that are there.
Today we are at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the Charles Alachi Mission Control Center, where we had the opportunity to participate in the Mars InSight lander. I am here with Emily Manor Chapman, who is an instrument engineer on the Mars InSight lander, and of course today we've had a very exciting day, and in fact a very successful day. Her part in this was the development of instruments that have been, not just engineered, but built and now delivered to the surface of Mars. So congratulations on a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Definitely so exciting today.
That's so great. Tell me, what is the instrument package that you worked on?
I work with what we call the Auxiliary Payload Sensor Suite, which is a collection of environmental or weather sensors.
Oh.
So we have a sensor that can measure air temperature and wind speed, atmospheric pressure, and also a magnetometer that can measure the magnetic field at Mars.
So tell us, are we going to get like continuous updates on the weather, on Mars?
We will. Starting this week, we'll do a short checkout with the instrument just to make sure everything is working correctly after landing. If that's successful, then we'll turn on the instrument, and it basically stays on almost continuously at that point. So we will get a full sol's worth of weather data every sol.
How long is it going to take before? There's a number of instruments here, and of course your package is one of many instruments.
That's right.
There's a seismometer on the Mars InSight lander, and there's something called the mole. Let's talk about the seismometer first. What is that going to help us understand?
So the seismometer will measure quakes on Mars, or Mars quakes as we call them.
Okay.
And by looking at the type of seismic activity on Mars will tell us something about how Mars formed and what it's made of. So scientists can look at the waves and data picked up by that instrument and tell us about how do seismic waves move through the material on Mars, and looking at how they move, what's Mars made of.
And I've been told that it can even pick up like maybe even meteorites that actually hit the surface of Mars, even on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, that's correct. We think we'll be able to detect those as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, okay, the mole. Tell me about the mole.
So the purpose of the mole is to measure how heat changes and moves around inside of Mars. So the mole is kind of a big nail about the size of my forearm, and it can actually hammer itself underneath the surface of Mars. And so with the mole, we're going to go deeper underneath the surface of Mars than any other mission has before. We'll go down to up to about 15 feet. And trailing behind that mole will be a series of temperature sensors. And so it will be able to take temperature over time, and again, see how the heat is moving around, how is it changing inside Mars. And again, that tells us something about how Mars formed and what it's made of.
Amazing. Tell me, what do you know about the core of Mars?
Well, first, if you look at our core here on Earth, we know that we have a kind of molten metallic core. And that core is what drives the magnetic field that we have here at Earth. And so, as you said, we don't see that global magnetic field anymore at Mars. So we want to find out, is the core liquid or is it solid? And what is it made of? Because if we see something that's like, maybe it's a solid core, so you don't have that dynamo action in the center of the planet like we do here on Earth, so we don't have anything to drive that magnetic field on Earth. And so we're actually going to use radio signals, between a radio signal between the lander on Mars and an antenna here on Earth. Looking at changes in that radio signal will tell us about what the core is made of. Is it solid or is it
So
liquid.
how long until we start getting some, you know, really serious science data from InSight?
It will actually be about 2 to 3 months, because the next thing that we need to do with InSight is, so we're on the surface,